the outstanding singing of the Canadian Chamber Choir. 512, my name is Simeon Rusnak, here in the Diamond Lane, and the Canadian Chamber Choir is an ensemble made up of outstanding choristers from across the country. Under the direction of Dr. Julia Davids, the choir celebrates Canada's rich cultural heritage while promoting new Canadian works and building community through choral singing. I'm joined by Julia Davids and Winnipeg-based CCC member Carla Ferguson here in the Diamond Lane. Good afternoon to you both.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Welcome to Classic 107. CCC, Triple C, C cubed. Is there a preference?
CCC.
CCC. Okay. The reason why I ask is because I regularly introduce works by the CCC. Your Sacred Reflections of Canada disc we just heard a selection off of is a favorite here at the station. So I'm sure that regular listeners are going to be familiar with the Canadian Chamber Choir. But Julia, would you mind telling us a little bit about the ensemble?
Yeah, the Canadian Chamber Choir is made up of singers, as you mentioned, who come from all over the country. And especially, we've been intentional about building a choir that is open to singers from all sizes of communities. If you're lucky enough to live in Winnipeg, you have a lot of options if you're a singer, and especially as a professional singer. But if you live in a smaller community in Canada, you may not have those opportunities. So the choir was sort of started with that in mind, that it would be a forum, an opportunity for singers to sing at an incredibly high level, gather from all across the country and share their perspectives from their home communities, share knowledge of composers and repertoire from their home communities, and really work at communicating.
I think what's really fascinating as well is that since you began your tenure in 2004, right?
Yes, I started directing in 2004.
You guys have visited every province, is that correct?
Yeah.
That has to be really special as a choir, something that many don't get to do.
Yeah, I was saying to my son this morning as I was walking him to school, I said, I'm so fortunate because music has meant that I've been able to visit so many different communities, and especially in my own country, to get to go from coast to coast, literally, and sing with people, to have our singers sit beside, the community choir in small communities through larger centers and sit in and sing together. It's an amazing thing.
And we're joined by one of the singers, Winnipeg-based Carla Ferguson. Hey, Carla, welcome to Classic 107. When did you first join the Canadian Chamber Choir?
I'm one of the founding members, as Julia is as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, from a chorister's perspective, I've sung before with choirs. One of the highlights is touring. It always is. It seems that you guys are always on tour in a special sort of way. Is it always as exciting?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think, that chance to sort of immerse yourself in something, which we don't get to do when we have a weekly rehearsal, that chance to spend quality time with the singers in your ensemble, and then the chance to have amazing experiences, like it all rolls together into a pretty incredible thing to be a part of. Yeah, every time.
Not to put you on the spot, but are there any real highlights over the past few years that come to mind?
Yes. We have a really special relationship with the folks in Nova Scotia, I would say. We've done a lot of work with their choral federation there, and 2 years ago we went they do an adult summer camp, and we have been there a few times as sort of facilitators. And this was an anniversary year for them, and they wanted to have us for that anniversary. And the choir was the biggest it had been in years, and we have friends there now because of all of the times we've been there. And so it was just such a lovely time. We brought our families with us.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was really special.
And going to Newfoundland?
Yeah, going to Newfoundland was a huge dream. We were out in Woody Point and in Grossmore National Park, which was spectacular. We did some video shoots out there in the tablelands outside. The wind was blowing so hard we were literally holding ourselves up, holding each other.
Bringing choral community tighter than ever before, quite literally.
Yeah.
And the Junos.
Yeah, and the Junos.
And the
obviously.
Junos.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was really exciting. Yeah.
Talk about memories. That is like a remarkable resume of things. And here you are back in Manitoba. Before we get to this concert, I feel like Manitoba has a pretty special place, not only just because you're from here, but your first album was recorded here in Winnipeg.
And our very first tour was here, actually.
Really?
In 2001? 2001. Yeah. So Manitoba has been home in some ways right from the beginning. And when we wanted to put our first recording together, this was a community that we knew and we could build on. And so, it's a shame we haven't been back for so long. We recorded that CD in 2009, but we didn't do concerts that year. We haven't done a concert in Manitoba since 2006. So we're way overdue.
Well, glad to have you back, and I'm sure the Manitoba choral community is glad to have you back. As you mentioned, it's such an active, vibrant community that we have here. Julia, I'm just wondering, can you tell us a little bit about what's coming up program-wise for the Canadian Chamber Choir?
Yeah, the program that we're working with right now was inspired by an art gallery situation. So just imagine that you go into a gallery and the theme is seasons, and each room is a different season. And we're thinking about seasons sort of broadly. So it might be like a photograph of literally winter, like snow on the ground, etc. But then there might be a more impressionistic painting or a painting of someone dealing with grief, or so it's an idea of life and landscape as curated by seasons. And then we've chosen a wide variety of all Canadian choral repertoire to reflect that. So it is organized by season, but you're going to hear a lot of different things from Joni Mitchell and Gordy Lightfoot through to some new compositions by emerging Canadian composers.
What excites you most about Canadian choral music as a conductor? Maybe not as a chorister. I mean, it's all great and fun, but I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I think there are just so many voices. It really reflects the diversity of the country and just diverse perspectives that you have. Some of our very well-known and established Canadian composers through, as I say, emerging composers who are just writing really exciting and interesting things, and especially some Indigenous voices as well. So I think we've really tried to broaden the idea so that it's more than just, Canadian traditional European folk songs, that we're really exploring a variety of Canadian voices.
And the last thing I want to touch on is that you're exploring it not just here in Winnipeg, but you guys are also going to be doing some traveling as well. Where are you off to?
When we first arrive, the singers all flew in today, and we always need to knock the rust off, so to speak, do a little rehearsing. But on top of that, we're working on a project that's sort of our part in a reconciliation conversation, I guess. And so we've commissioned a work by Carmen Braden from Yellowknife, and we're working with an Indigenous dancer, Sarain Carson-Fox. And so we're going to kind of sequester ourselves. We don't do this very often. We're usually in community with other people. But we're going to take a couple days and go to the Sandy Salto Spiritual Center, which is a sort of a meeting place of Western and Indigenous spirituality, and as a place for us to focus on this preparatory work and do some more learning and education on our part too. So that's a really valuable opportunity for us to just sort of sit with ourselves and that kind of work and see what we can do together.
I think what is so outstanding is that very often when looking at the Canadian Chamber Choir repertoire is that it is more than just the music. It is what comes with the music, the thought and the action that music can spur on. That Sacred Reflections of Canada disc does exactly that. I mean, it's that similar idea, the Canadian Mass. Thank you both for coming in this afternoon. It was a pleasure meeting you on the radio. There are a number of chances to see the Canadian Chamber Choir at the First Unitarian Universalist Church in Winnipeg. That's on Tuesday, September 25th. Wednesday, they're collaborating with my alma mater, the University of Winnipeg Singers. Looking forward to that on the Wednesday, the 26th. And then off to Brandon at the Knox United Church. Dr. Julia Davids, Carla Ferguson, thanks so much for coming into Classic 107.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you wouldn't mind introducing this next work. We're going to be listening to Tabula Rasa.
Yeah, Tabula Rasa is by a BC composer, Don MacDonald, and the text is actually by his wife. it means blank slate. And it's this idea of a parent holding a small child and looking into their child's face and seeing limitless potential if the child is loved and supported in the way that it needs to be. So it's, I think, for all of us in the CCCs who have seen each other have their families and seen the children of the CCC, it's a special piece for us because we imagine the limitless potential of our children and what that means.
Beautiful. The Canadian Chamber Choir performing Tabula Rasa.